All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1 Omnibus that just got a reprint here in December of 2021. And as with every Spider-Man Omnibus, I'm always so super happy, super excited because he is my favorite superhero, and they've been doing such a good job with anything that's kind of been out of print for Spider-Man, bringing it back into print in this past year. Marvel's just been doing a great job with their Omnibus reprints in the last, I'd say, 2 years. You know, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America, they're really trying to focus on everything that kind of went out of print for specific superheroes and series and trying to bring them out so that everybody can kind of collect them. And I really like doing that. And I hope that this will do so well that we'll continue getting Volume 2 and Volume 3. Like, I think 20 years ago or something like that, Barnes & Noble created their own version of an omnibus for Ultimate Spider-Man. And, you know, we never got a Volume 2. So now I'm hoping that this reprint kind of fixes that and we can kind of continue this series. Because I'm really looking forward to it. I've read probably the first 20 or so issues of this, and this collects the first, 1 to 39 and a half issue as well, or the half issue rather. And it retails for $125 and $157 in Canada. I think I paid $110 including tax for this one here in Canada when Indigo had a sale, indigo.ca. So I was pretty happy with that. And I really hope that this does well. Yeah, I read the first 20 or so issues of this, and I mean, really nice artwork. I do like, I think it's Mark Bagley, yeah, that is the artist on this. I like the look of Doc Ock. Never got to Venom, but I had seen images of him before. We'll just open up the spines here, open up the flaps here. The creators and a little bit about the actual story itself. And so I had read the first 20 issues maybe like close to when it first came out. And about 2 years ago, as I was starting to get back into collecting comic books and omnibus and things like that, I was all so close to getting the entire run of this because I just had like an urge to kind of read everything from the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. But I'm so glad that I kind of waited, because I'd much rather have it in this format. And that's a really nice back cover right there. Now, this book did open up really nicely for me. I did stretch it out a little bit beforehand. But we get the introduction with the creators, and then it goes boom right into the issue. Virgin covers, so no table of contents. I do generally like that. And there's no page numbers either, because there's no table of contents, so they don't really need to do that, I guess. But they do at least number what issue you're on. And it's because that, you know, it's just pretty much going in order from 1 to 39, and that half issue as well at the very end. You kind of just follow along with the story. And so what the Ultimate Spider-Man is that around the year 2000, when the first X-Men movie came out, Marvel was wanting to kind of make an approach for new readers to read Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Spider-Man as a way to bring in new readers, because there was, like, at that point, had been like 40 years of comic books and history and lore. And to get caught up, it's like, wow, I would need to read, 40 years of comics, and I'd be so confused with everything. And it's very daunting, even as myself, who had, read some in the 90s, some in the 2010s. I always got a little bit apprehensive, and it's such a big task, daunting task, essentially, to kind of get into reading some of these big superhero comics and then be like fully caught up. Do I just start reading what's currently out right now? And if you have a good writer, they will catch you up, but it's very scary. So what they thought, okay, let's make all the characters younger, more approachable, current, and have their origin stories re-shown. And for the most part, what they do is they kind of stick within what would have the Spider-Man story, but they do change a few things here and there because they can. That's the cool thing, is that it is not tied, well, it's not part of the 616 universe. It is its own Ultimate universe. 616 is the regular comics that we kind of all read, and this is its own separate thing. So they were able to take different approaches to different situations and circumstances, but generally keeping the same feeling. Just with Spider-Man here, I think he's 15 years old, and I like the writing of this. I liked the story from what I remember, but I think that I do prefer a little bit of an older Spider-Man. I don't necessarily like him being like a very old, but in college, just after college, that seems to be the version of Spider-Man that I always enjoyed. The other thing too is that even when I go back and reread some of the 60s stuff, he seems much more mature. He doesn't seem like a 15-year-old kid, and that's one of the only negatives that I have kind of talking about Tom Holland as Spider-Man, is that he's so young. And I kind of get that they were going for the ultimate Spider-Man approach for that, because we had gotten Tobey and we had gotten Andrew Garfield, who were more mature than Tom was by far. And it wasn't Tom's fault at all. I think Tom Holland is an excellent actor, and I think that for what he's given for Spider-Man, he's doing a good job. It's just like, I want him to be an adult. I'm tired of seeing him as a kid. But I still think that this is definitely worth reading. I just feel that Tom Holland is very much tied to the Ultimate Spider-Man, and even this version of Spider-Man is a little bit more mature than Tom's, which is really weird. So the book opens up nicely. We have, very minimal gutter loss, I find, especially near the middle of the book here. Here you can kind of see it a little bit more, but if I open it up, it's not too bad. It's not a bad eye. I wish it was popping out a little bit more, and I'm hoping that as I read it, it will come out. But I have to say that the paper quality is excellent. It's a glossy paper, and this is probably the best paper quality that I've seen all year round. This is excellent, especially for Marvel. I find that some of the DC books have some nice paper, but this is by far, I think it even beats DC, honestly. And there's the half cover, which is what it ends on, and then we can get right into some of the extras here. They talk about the beginning of starting up the Ultimate Universe. And the other thing too, back like 20 years ago, we couldn't just go and get like an omnibus. That's the nice thing about now, is that we can go back and have a major collection and go back and read these stories. But back then it was much harder to find these issues. And they did have like a newspaper trade paperback where you could get like all the old, I think maybe it was Essentials, I think that's what it was called. So you could kind of catch up. So it was a really good idea 20 years ago. So, okay, you can't read it. You don't want to get the Essentials. We're going to make this instead just recreate everything from the ground up and give you their origin, reintroduce all the villains. Great idea. I enjoyed it. I also liked the Ultimate X-Men as well. The beginning of it anyway. And there you have it. That's pretty much it. And I'll just quickly show you what the eye looks like. Like I said, though, I think that with multiple readings, it probably lies, it's not going to be that, kind of like that. It's actually pretty darn good, but I know that if I read it just a little bit more and maybe even just stretch it out a little bit more, it will do even better. But I cannot wait to dive back into this. I've been waiting, 2 years pretty much since I had that craving, and very glad that I held off. Hoping this does well so we can get a volume 2 and actually just complete the entire run. So thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in Beardage.